If you are looking to go out for dinner on a Monday night in Hawke's Bay, you might be out of luck. While most restaurants are closed for the night, some are now closed for much longer. A staffing shortage in the region is forcing many hospitality businesses to reduce their hours.
With the staff that we have, we can only operate it for 5 or 6 days at the moment. So we're having to close on a Tuesday and a Wednesday sometimes.
The Globe restaurant was operating 7 days a week when they started and opened, but quickly had to reduce the amount of hours once they started losing a bit of staff. Irish pub, The Rose, was operating 7 days, so now we are closed on the Tuesday. We had the Arjuna Cafe, which was one of the most popular cafe around this corner, has been closed since December, and then because of the lack of staff, they can't reopen.
And it's not just in Hawke's Bay. According to the Restaurant Association, 83% of restaurant businesses are understaffed, and 62% of eateries had to temporarily close in August due to shortages.
We are supposed to have roughly about 14 staff. Current situation is only having 9 staff on board.
At the moment, we're operating with about 10 staff. Ideally, we probably want to operate with 14 or 15 staff.
Well, if I see you in the morning, I see you in the morning.
Trish Yeoman bought this cafe in Havelock Laws 5 years ago. She lost her head chef 2 months ago. Now she is doing all the cooking.
It can be very overwhelming. I work 7 days a week. I'm 65. I really should be retiring now. And I need to go and see my kids at some stage very soon. So, yeah, the sooner I can get people, staff that can run the shop, otherwise I'm going to have to shut the shop and go on holiday.
The hospitality industry has traditionally relied on overseas workers, but sluggish immigration is making the vacancy gap even bigger.
Travellers that come through, they'll come in for 3 or 4 months, work for a little bit and then move on. So they fill in the gaps really nicely.
The frustration comes from the government personally. I said we have very little help, but we need to see some signs of support basically for the whole sector.
But there is some good news, with the government recently changing the qualifications needed for chefs to come to New Zealand. Restaurant owners are also putting a lot of effort into recruiting locally, with limited success.
A lot of adverts have gone out over the last couple of months. Some people are applying, but they're not following through either. So they're not turning up to the interview or deciding to go elsewhere.
My flatmate that I currently live with, he was a chef, gave up his position to become a carpenter so that he can have a trade that's more reliable for his life.
I think when people especially are looking for a better lifestyle, maybe hospitality industry is not their first priority to choose and to become their career.
Some friends of mine who have decided to do a change of career into construction, building, electricians.
But not everyone is desperate. A little wine bar in Hastings has been able to attract the staff it needs.
We've been open for just over a month now, and we have a staff of around about 5 people. We're pretty lucky because we are new, so we're the shiny new things. So for us, and not being that large, we were able to attract some pretty good staff. Plus, I have got a little family member working for me as well.
Among his staff, Victoria Burson is an American who has worked in restaurants both in NZ and the US. She says the industry here is very different to the other places in the world.
There's less of an emphasis on hospitality being a career for some people out here. Like you can have, in the States, you have career waiters that have been at the same place for years and years and years and years. But that's not much of a thing. They seem to take a lot more of the working holidays to fill those gaps rather than taking staff and keeping them full-time and training and allowing them to move up. I think we're focusing way too more on the casual staff rather than fostering careers for people.
I think the secret is going to be that people start to see this industry as a career rather than just as a job, and that we have to train a lot of young people to see that it is a viable, ongoing career.
Barista Hans Singsinger is passionate about the industry. He's been crafting his brews for more than a decade.
I've got a lot of friends from the day that come through the door and brighten up my day, and I try and brighten up their day with having a chat with them and showing interest in what's going on in their life. Yeah, less stressful job than being a lawyer back in the old country.
But over that time, he's seen plenty of his workmates come and go.
As an older person, you have different expectations going into a cafe. Younger kids don't have that. They just seem to care less about the customer and more about having a job that's easy. And if they can't deal with it when it gets too stressful for them, they just move on again.
While it's important to have a passion for the industry, being paid properly was okay.
I'm paying a little higher than the average. I want to make sure that I've got very, very good staff.
In the last year or so, they've gone up at least sort of $4 or $5, $4 or $5 an hour, especially for the chefs.
Well, when I first started, I was definitely more of just slightly above the minimum wage. It's definitely increased with this minimum wage and living wage going up in New Zealand over the years as well. But also as my skill has increased, I've been able to sort of demand a higher wage for myself. Overall, in the 6 years, it's probably gone up $5 total an hour.
Hawke's Bay is now preparing for its annual peak season. There are nearly 100 cruise ships scheduled to stop at Napier Port this summer season, including Royal Caribbean, which carries around 5,000 passengers and over 1,000 crew members.
The major impact is going to have on international tourists arriving and being able to cater for them properly, give them expected good quality service as well.
For those launching a little business, readying themselves for a busy summer can be nerve-wracking.
I am opening my cafe next month, and I knew coming in that staffing in the hospitality scene is quite difficult at the minute, but we tried to stay really positive, and I utilized all my outlets that I could, and I've been very fortunate to build a great team. I've actually overstaffed it for my first summer, and then we can reassess next year to see if we need more, if we need less, and hopefully we'll retain the staff that I've brought on this year.
J-Pong, local focus.